Today we talk about stepping in effectively. Hey, welcome to Practice Wing Chun, where we discuss Wing Chun and answer any training related questions. My name is Edgar, and this is episode 33 of Practice Wing Chun. Today we'll be talking about a more intermediate technique. It's stepping in. It's slightly different from closing the distance because stepping in is included in your strikes, and this is really important in Chi Sao. When I started Wing Chun, or when I started Chi Sao in Wing Chun, I never thought of moving anything other than my upper body, like my arms only. So it took me years to kind of finally realize that, okay, stepping in is okay because it adds to my strikes. And even when I was starting, the only movements I would do with my legs were essentially either backing up from something or just shifting. So in Chi Sao, in my classes, we try to go hard, but we don't want to hurt our partners. So the alternative, instead of punching them or hurting them, we do strikes open-handed. And we consider strikes that pass the shoulder line a successful strike. Now you can also strike them, but I'm not at that level where I can control my power, so I rarely do a closed fist strike to my partner. I always do it open-handed. And so going back to stepping, when I first started stepping, and even till this day, I still kind of step, but I lead with my upper body. I'm leaning forward, and it's just a bad habit. I realized why this past weekend during class. It's because when I step in, I lead and land on my balls of my foot, because that makes me put my weight on my front of my leg before I step in. So the solution to that, for me at least, is stepping in and landing on the heels of my foot so that the weight is still on the back leg. So when I place my full foot on the floor, all I need to do is pull in, step in with my back leg, and my weight remains like in the back instead of in the front. So let's assume, alright, since I can't clearly see my feet. So what I was doing was I was stepping and it was pushing downwards like this on my balls on my feet. So now this creates forward momentum where all my weight's on my forward leg. But now that I corrected it, I placed the weight on the heels of my feet before placing my entire foot down. This keeps the rest of my weight back. So I'm no longer kind of lunging forward. I am now back here. So let me just put this away. So now, adding this to strikes, it makes it much easier for me to kind of go in, but also keep my distance. Because if I go in like I used to, I always went in kind of like lunging forward. My weight is more in the front instead of in the back. So this makes it easier for my partners to retaliate against my strike. Whether they block it successfully or not, whatever they do, their strike is much closer to my face than if I had more weight on my back leg. And my Sifu mentions that the power of a strike comes from the back leg of your strike. Because think of punching. Right now I have my left foot forward, my right foot back. If I punch, the power is going to come from here, right? It's not going to come from my forward. If it's going to come from my forward, it's going to be more like a jab. But it comes from my power leg, like from the back leg, it's more of a power strike. So the same applies in Wing Chun. When you're stepping in with one foot forward and one leg back. But if you want to keep that power, keep the power in the back leg, So if I'm striking on my left arm, my left leg is the back leg that drives the left strike. So this is the same for, so this is where closing the distance also matters, because previously I said they're slightly different. That is true, because when you're stepping in, you have the intent to strike. But when you're trying to close the distance, you're just trying to maintain that distance between you and your partner or your opponent. And sometimes they can step back, or if you're like me and you lead with a heavy front foot, you're gonna kind of lounge towards them to kind of keep distance. This gives them advantage because while you're kind of lunging forward, they're already kind of stepping back, so they just pull you towards them and you're already off balance, because it's easier to pull someone that's already going that direction. So this is something that I'm still working on. It's still very new to me, and I've just been working on my steps this whole time. Stepping in is kind of something that's been holding me back in terms of my, I guess in terms of my skills right now. Stepping in really like changes a lot of things. What I was doing before was okay, but I think with correct stepping in, it will just increase my skill by a lot. So proper stepping is important. Proper weight distribution is important as well. This is more technical. I think for beginners, this may not mean much to you yet, but when you start being more on your feet, you have to understand that when you do get to Chi-Cell, it's not just in your arms. It requires your whole body, it requires a good structure, and it requires you to move forward, move to the side, move to the back. So stepping is really important. And this is something to keep in mind as you're learning Chi-Cell. So if you're doing static Chi-Cell without any shifting, without any movement other than your rolling, it's not going to be completely effective, and it's only half of Chi-Cell. The other half is the rest of your body, and your footwork is super important. Now, if there are any more questions about this topic, I want to revisit it in the future when I get better with my stepping and see how it goes for me. This is still, once again, something fairly new for me, stepping in correctly. And I only noticed it because I was watching my Sifu and how he stepped. So I noticed I stepped with, again, the balls of my foot, but I noticed how he stepped with the heel of his foot. So I've just been kind of mimicking his movements, and it just feels much better. It's still very different from what I'm used to, so my body has to get into the habit of stepping the way my Sifu does. So yeah, this is it for this week's episode of Practice Wing Chun. Until next time, keep training.